The silence is the loudest thing you've ever heard. It hums like a broken light bulb in a forgotten room, constant, low, aching, no footsteps, no voices, no messages lighting up your phone. The world has moved on, didn't it? While you sat there, still, waiting for a hand that never reached, a voice that never called, a door that never opened. It's a special kind of quiet, the kind that creeps into your bones, asterisk, asterisk, makes itself at home behind your ribs, and settles in like it belongs, like it owns you now. You didn't just fall. No, this wasn't some graceful stumble. You were asterisk pushed asterisk, weren't you? Or maybe life didn't even care enough to push. Maybe it just let go. One day you were there, fighting to be seen, and the next, you were invisible, not gone, just unseen, forgotten, a ghost in your own story. People don't talk about this part. They love the comeback, the glow-up, the look at me now. But no one writes songs about the days you can't get out of bed, about the nights where the ceiling becomes your only witness, about the kind of pain that doesn't scream. It just sits with you, breathing slow and heavy like it has all the time in the world. And maybe it does. Maybe the darkness doesn't need to rush, because it knows most people will surrender before they fight back. And you, yeah, you almost did. You almost folded, almost believed the voice that whispered, "This is it," almost accepted that this was your ending, that you were one of the ones who asterisk almost made it asterisk. They said you were full of potential, past tense asterisk. They talked about what you could have been, like you were already gone, like your expiration date had come and passed and the world was just politely forgetting your name. And for a while, maybe they were right. You started to believe the lies, didn't? Not the loud one. No, those are easy to fight. It's the soft one, the ones that crawl in through the cracks, the ones that sound like your voice. You're tired. You're done. You're not like them. You never were. That's the poison. That's the rot. And it doesn't kill you quickly. It's patient. It lets you keep breathing just enough to feel the weight of your own worthlessness. You know what's worse than heartbreak? Apathy. When you don't even have the energy to care anymore. When your soul just asterisk flattens asterisk. Not broken, just asterisk quiet asterisk. Like a piano with cut string. Like a storm that never starts. That's where you were. That was your hell. But here's the truth they don't want to admit. Asterisk, asterisk, the silence is not the end. It's the seed, asterisk, asterisk, because something stirred beneath the weight, beneath the stillness. Asterisk, asterisk, something moved asterisk, asterisk. It wasn't loud, it wasn't pretty, but it was real. A flicker, a twitch, a defiant whisper in the dark. Not yet. You didn't roar, not yet. But you breathed, and that breath, that was rebellion, that was defiance. That was the moment the storm opened its eyes. See, they thought you were done, because they saw you fall, but they never stuck around to see you crawl, and they sure as hell won't be ready when you rise. That's the problem with people. They measure life in noise. If you're not loud, if you're not seen, they think you're dead. But the most dangerous ones, the ones to fear, asterisk, asterisk, they move in silence, asterisk, asterisk. Right now, you're not flashy. You're not triumphant. You're not screaming into the void. You're just watching, waiting, healing. And asterisk that asterisk scares them more than your shout ever could. Because something is coming. Something forged in the shadows. Something that doesn't need applause to feel real. Something that no one can stop. Not even you. You used to think you were broken, but now you know the truth. Asterisk, asterisk. You were just quiet dot asterisk asterisk. There's a difference, because quiet doesn't mean weak. Quiet doesn't mean lost. Quiet means asterisk waiting asterisk. Quiet means asterisk gathering asterisk. Quiet means asterisk preparing for the roar asterisk. And when you finally rise, and you will, it won't be for attention. It won't be to prove anything to anyone. It will be because something inside you remembered. Remembered who you are. Remembered what it feels like to fight. Remembered that you were never built to break. You were built to bend, to burn, to be buried and still asterisk, asterisk, breathe, asterisk, asterisk. So let them sleep on you. Let them forget. Let them think you're done. Because the loudest storms don't announce themselves. They asterisk asterisk build in silence. Asterisk asterisk. And you're the thunder they'll never see coming. You didn't just lose, you were shattered, piece by piece, blow by blow, until you weren't even sure what you were anymore. There was no dramatic explosion, no grand collapse, just a quiet, brutal unraveling. One betrayal, one lie, one failure at a time, until trust became a memory, and direction became a joke, until the mirror stopped recognizing you, and you stopped caring. It's not just that things fell apart, it's who you became when they did. You started to shrink, to disappear behind smiles, to nod when your soul screamed no, to sit still when every cell in your body wanted to fight. But you didn't fight, did you? Not then, because somewhere deep inside, you thought maybe you deserved it. The loss, the pain, the silence. Maybe you thought this was karma. Maybe you thought this was fate. Maybe you thought you weren't worth saving. The people you would have bled for, they walked away without looking back. Some of them laughed. Others forgot you like yesterday's noise. They moved on with their lives while you were still digging through the rubble of your own. What did I do wrong? That question haunted you, didn't it? Like a whisper in the hallway of your mind that echoed through every sleepless night. And the truth, you didn't just lose people. You didn't just lose jobs, goals, dreams. You lost you, the version of you that used to believe, the one that had fire, the one that showed up to life with wild eyes and stubborn hope, the one that dared to think they mattered. Gone. What replaced it was hollow, a walking ghost, a heartbeat wrapped in exhaustion. And that's the cruelest part. You were still alive enough to feel it all, to feel the sting of rejection, to feel the heat of shame, to feel your own soul retreating behind walls you didn't know how to break. This is where despair took your hand, wrapped its fingers around your chest, not quick like a thief, but slow, like ivy around stone, like a noose made of doubt, tighter, day by day. You still smiled for people, still said, "I'm fine," but inside, you were screaming, and no one heard, or worse, they did, and they turned away. You remember that moment, don't you? The one when everything inside you said, "I can't do this anymore." Not out loud, just a whisper in the corner of your mind, quiet, hopeless, defeated. That moment, that was your lowest point. That was when it all should have ended, and yet, you're still here. How? That's what they don't get. They saw the fall, they saw the bruises, they saw the mess, but they didn't see what survived. Because while you were breaking, something else was being born. Not hope, not strength, not yet. No, what was born was the villain, not the one they think, not the kind that lashes out or seeks revenge. No, the villain you met was inside you. It was the voice that said, "You're nothing." It was the echo of everyone who left, the shadow that grew each time you doubted yourself. That voice, that's the real enemy. It knows every weakness, every crack, every scar. It doesn't scream, it whispers, and it is relentless. That voice told you to give up, told you you'd never be enough, told you this was your ceiling, that you should stop trying, that you're not like the rest, that no matter how hard you work, it'll never matter. And for a while, you believed it. But even then, something didn't die. It should have. Logically, it made sense to quit, to settle, to stay on your knees. But some primitive spark, buried so deep you couldn't see it, kept breathing, kept watching, kept waiting. It didn't shout, it didn't beg, it just endured. Because you were buried, but you were not broken. See, people love to throw dirt on you. When you're down, they call it judgment, they call it advice. But it's really just fear. They fear what you could be if you ever rose again. So they label you, define you by your fall. They say, "That's who you are now." And some part of you started to believe it. But dirt's funny, because it can bury you, or it can grow you. And you're not done, not even close. You've tasted the bottom, you've kissed the concrete, you've stared up at a ceiling that mocked you. But that's why what's coming is so dangerous, because once someone survives this, they don't fear anything else. You've already died once. What else can they take? Now hear me when I say this. This is not the end of your story. This is the chapter they'll quote. This is the pain they'll forget, but you'll remember. This is where the blood dried, where the eyes stopped watering, where the scream became a growl. This is not defeat, it's the turning, because the ones who come back from this, they don't return the same. They return reborn. They return relentless. They return with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. So sit with your scars. Remember their names. Own every failure, every broken piece. Not to feel shame, but to recognize what survived. You did. You made it through what was supposed to kill you. You endured when you had no reason left. You were cracked open, humiliated, abandoned, and still, you breathe. So no, you're not fine. You're not okay. You're dangerous. Because the fall didn't end you. It woke you. And now that you know what lives inside the silence, now that you've faced the villain in the mirror, now that you've tasted the dirt and felt the weight of despair, you've got nothing left to fear. You are buried, but not broken. And soon, very soon, you rise. There's a place beyond the fall, deeper than the bottom. They don't talk about it. Not in the movies, not in the books, not in the stories they sell to make you believe comebacks are easy. This place, it's the pit. There's no light here, no hope dripping through the cracks, no audience watching, no hands to pull you up. Just you, and the sound of your own breathing, echoing off stone walls. You don't fall into the pit. You sink, little by little, day by day, thought by thought. You wake up and feel it tightening, your chest, your jaw, your soul. And suddenly, you're not just sad, you're empty. Not just tired, numb. The pit doesn't scream, it doesn't burn, it starves, it withholds, it strips. And you learn. You learn that silence has texture. You learn that darkness has a voice. And it sounds a hell of a lot like yours. Because now, you're not just surrounded by your demons. You're living with them, eating with them, sleeping beside them. You name them one by one. Fear, doubt, shame, rage, regret. They don't hide in the shadows anymore. They sit across the table and dare you to break. And for a while, you want to. But something strange happens in the pit. Something you didn't expect. After the tears run dry, after the screams turn to silence, after you've begged the sky for something, anything, you stop waiting and you start listening to what's left, to the heartbeat behind the pain, to the fire you didn't know was still flickering. That's the trick. That's the secret they never told you. The pit isn't where you die, it's where you build. Because when the world forgets you, when no one's watching, that's when the real work begins. You stop performing, you stop pretending, you stop polishing your pain to make it digestible for others, and you start digging into your anger, into your story, into every wound that never healed. You don't run from the monsters anymore. You stare them in the face. You study them. You ask them questions. Why are you here? Who made you? What do you want from me? And they answer, not in words, but in memories, in flashes, in the moments you buried but never outran. And through the grit of it, through the grime, you begin to understand. You weren't weak. You were surviving. You were adapting. You were doing what you had to do to make it through a war no one saw but you. You weren't lazy. You were exhausted from battles you couldn't explain. You weren't broken. You were reshaping yourself in real time. And now you know their name. You know the monsters. You know their tactics. And you've stopped running. You whisper, I'm still here. Not as a declaration. Not as a victory speech. As a promise. A quiet vow. The first breath before the war cry, because something's changing. The pit, once cold and cruel, becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes ownership. You realize something dangerous. The same pit they tried to bury you in, it's your training ground now. Every tear, a rep, every failure, a set, every doubt you stared down, a sharpened blade in your arsenal. This isn't a story of rising yet. No, this is becoming sharp, becoming dangerous, becoming the version of yourself they never saw coming. Because in the pit, there are no mirrors, only reflections in blood and sweat, only truth. You're not soft anymore. You're not asking for permission to heal. You're not waiting for someone to believe in you. You're building yourself from the ashes of everything they destroyed. They thought this was your prison, but it was your forge. They thought silence would kill you, but it taught you to listen. They thought the darkness would crush you, but you made it your companion. And now the demons aren't screaming anymore. Now you speak, now you lead, now you decide. You aren't afraid of the dark anymore, because you became it. This pit, this cold, endless hell, it made you. Not clean, not pretty, but real, but undeniable, but free. And when you finally climb out, when the dirt falls off your back and the sun hits your face again, you won't look like the rest. You'll walk different, breathe different, burn different. Because once you've built in the dark, once you've bled alone, once you've tamed the beasts in your own mind, there is nothing they can take from you. This isn't the end. It's the origin story. The pit didn't break you. It built you. And now the world better pray you never forget how to get back. There's a silence that's not quiet. It hums. It buzzes beneath the skin like electricity. It's the kind of silence that doesn't soothe. It charges. You feel it first in the gut. That low twist of something waking up. Not sadness, not grief, but something sharper, hotter, louder, rage. But not the kind that burns wild and blind. No, this anger has direction. This anger has intent. It doesn't scream. It speaks, and its voice is yours. You don't even know when it started. This change in the air, this shift in your pulse. Maybe it was the 1,000th time they doubted you. Maybe it was the 100th time you doubted yourself. Maybe it was just the silence finally reaching its limit. You look back at everything that's happened, everything they said, everything they took, everything you gave, and suddenly you don't feel broken anymore. You feel cheated. All this time, you thought you were weak, that you failed, that you deserved the pain. But now you see it for what it was. They didn't break you. They just revealed you. They peeled back the soft skin and comfort and masks. And underneath, they found something they didn't expect. Not a victim, not a coward, a weapon. You start pacing in your own mind. You start connecting dots you weren't ready to connect before. This wasn't just about mistakes. This wasn't just about life going wrong. No, this was a setup. A fire designed to burn off the excess. A storm meant to tear away who you thought you were, so you could finally meet who you really are. And that version of you doesn't beg, doesn't bow, doesn't break. This is the moment the villain inside you starts to lose grip. The voice that once ruled you, doubt, fear, self-hate, it begins to tremble. It knows something's wrong, something's changing, because now you're not whispering, "I'm still here." Now you're growling, "You should have killed me when you had the chance." You feel that. That's not arrogance. That's not ego. That's clarity. The fog is lifting. The story you've been telling yourself for years. It starts to unravel. All the times you played small. All the times you shrank to make others comfortable. All the times you said, "Maybe I'm just not enough." Gone. Burned away by something older than pain. Something more ancient than fear. Fire. Not wildfire. Controlled fire. Like a forge. See, when you've been in the pit long enough, you start to understand the rules of survival. You stop playing nice. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop asking for permission to fight for yourself. And then it hits you. They were never supposed to see you rise. They were betting on your silence, on your shame, on your surrender. But instead, you got angry. Not at them. At every version of yourself that believed the lie. At the fear that kept you crawling. At the voice that said you couldn't. At the ghost of who you used to be. This rage, it's clean, it's pure, it's righteous. It's not about revenge, it's about resurrection. And when it rises in your chest, when it reaches your fists, your spine, your eyes, you finally see it clearly. You are not the same. This is no longer about surviving. This is about taking it all back. Your name, your worth, your power. You are done explaining yourself. Done apologizing for your strength. Done shrinking to fit places that were never built to hold you. From here on out, you walk like you've already buried the old you, because you did. They thought they saw your worst when you were down. They didn't see what was coming. They didn't see this rage sharpen into vision, into focus, into purpose. You start setting boundaries. You start saying no. You start building like a storm is coming, because you are the storm. And the doubt, the fear, they start to retreat. Not because they're gone, but because you're no longer feeding them. You've tasted what it's like to fight for yourself. And now, you're starving for more. You don't want comfort. You want conquest. You don't want pity. You want power. And it's not about proving them wrong anymore. It's about proving yourself right. Because somewhere in your bones, you always knew you weren't like the rest. You felt it. Even when you were down, humiliated, exhausted, there was still something beating like war drums in your chest. That wasn't ego. That was truth. The kind you don't need to explain. The kind that doesn't ask for validation. The kind that simply is. So now you walk differently. You speak differently. You look at the world with eyes that say, "Try me." Because you're no longer just surviving the storm. You are the eye of it, the center of the chaos, the calm in the violence. And what's more dangerous than someone who's lost everything and decided to fight anyway? Nothing. They thought your silence meant surrender. They didn't know it was preparation. Now the rage is focused. Now the fire is aimed. Now the doubt is afraid of you. Because you're not just back. You're becoming something they can't measure. Something they can't stop. And if they're still watching, they better look closely. Because you just lit the match. And this is just the beginning. There comes a time when the enemy changes faces. It's no longer the people who left. No longer the critics. No longer the world. It's you. Always was. And now you see it. The voice, the habits, the hesitation, that weight on your shoulders wasn't someone else's hand. It was yours. This is the war they don't glamorize. Not the war against haters. Not the war against odds. But the war inside your own mind. And it's brutal. Because you can't lie to yourself in here. You can't charm it. You can't fake it. You can't ghost your own reflection. This is you versus you. And the battlefield, it's in every thought, every impulse, every second you want to quit, and no one would blame you. But this time, you don't run. This time, you build. You begin to forge the mind like steel. Pain is your furnace. Discipline is your hammer. Repetition is the fire that hardens your edge. You're not just healing anymore. You're sharpening. Every weakness exposed, you reinforce it. Every excuse uncovered, you kill it. Every soft corner of your soul, you sand it down until it cuts like truth. Because there's no one left to save you. And now, you know that's a gift. No more waiting for motivation. No more riding the emotional roller coaster. No more, "I don't feel like it." Feelings are not the driver anymore. Purpose is. You wake up tired. You work. You feel fear. You move forward. You feel rage. You breathe through it. You stay in control. Not because it's easy, but because now you're in command of the machine. This is what they don't understand. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's freedom. It's peace. It's the moment when your mind becomes your ally, not your captor. You stop craving comfort. You crave control of your time, of your habits, of your reactions. You start managing your thoughts like a general manages troops. Some thoughts, you deploy them to the front line. Others, you shut down before they sabotage the mission. Not every thought gets to stay. Not every feeling gets to lead. You learn to interrogate your mind like it's under oath. Is this true? Is this useful? Does this move me forward or keep me stuck? And if the answer doesn't serve you, you cut it. Because there's no room anymore for the old you. The one that procrastinated. The one that made excuses. The one that sabotaged every win because you were scared of who you could actually become. That version of you, dead, buried in the ashes of what used to be. This new version, ruthless, not toward others, toward yourself. When you fall out of alignment, you hold yourself accountable. You push through the resistance. You show up when no one's clapping. You execute when no one's watching. This is the forge. This is the reprogramming. The days blur together. The grind becomes sacred. The voice inside starts to change. Where there used to be doubt, now there's direction. Where there used to be panic, now there's poise. Where there used to be chaos, now there's clarity. Because you've trained your mind like a blade. You've sharpened it with pain. You've polished it with repetition. You've tested it in the fire of your worst days. And now, you're dangerous in the best way. Not because you scream louder, Not because you lift more, not because you've got something to prove, but because you know, with surgical certainty, exactly who you are, exactly what you're here to do. And the voices that once ruled you, they whisper now, because they know they've lost control. The villain inside, it hasn't disappeared. It just knows now. It's not in charge anymore. You are. The fear still shows up, but you don't bow. The doubt still creeps in, but you don't obey. You're not pretending anymore. You're not hoping anymore. You've stepped into the truth of your power. And when you look in the mirror now, you don't see a question mark. You see a warrior, carved by failure, tempered by pain, disciplined by fire. You didn't find yourself. You forged yourself from ruin, from rage, from silence. And now, you don't need applause. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You walk into every room like you own it, not because of ego, but because you've already conquered the only battlefield that ever mattered, your own mind. And when the world tries to throw chaos at you, you smile, because chaos used to live inside you, and you tamed it. Now, you are the storm they can't predict. You are the silence they fear. You are the clarity they crave. And no matter what comes next, you're ready, because the greatest weapon you'll ever carry is a mind forged in fire, sharpened in truth, and wielded with purpose. No music, no lights, no crowd, just you. And the alarm screaming before the sun's even thought about rising. This is where greatness begins, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, before anyone's watching, before anyone's clapping, before anyone even cares. This is the daily war, and it's ugly, not poetic, not pretty, not some cinematic rise to glory moment. No, it's rolling out of bed with sore muscles and a screaming mind. It's lacing your shoes when your heart says, let's stay in bed. It's putting in the reps while no one's cheering. It's bleeding through the silence, one damn inch at a time. See, everyone wants the outcome, the victory, the glow up, but no one talks about the grind, not the romanticized version, the real one, where progress crawls, where days feel the same, where failure is your co-pilot, and quitting whispers like a friend you used to trust. But you don't quit, because you've already buried that version of you, the one who needed applause to keep going. Now, you build without recognition, you move without noise, you grind without guarantee. You know what this is. This is war, and it's fought every single day. Not against enemies, not against circumstances, but against the part of you that still wants comfort, the part of you that still wants easy, still wants shortcuts, still wants to skip the process. But there are no shortcuts here, not to strength, not to mastery, not to purpose. There is only one currency that buys greatness: repetition. It's the same lift, the same page, the same beat, over and over and over, until your body breaks, until your mind snaps, and your soul screams. And you keep going, because this isn't about talent. It's about tolerance. How much pain can you carry without folding? How long can you march without praise? How many times can you fail and rise again with clenched fists and clearer eyes? This is the test. Every single day, the grind asks you, are you still in? Will you show up when no one knows your name? Will you put in the work with no promise of reward? Because this is where warriors are made. Not in victory, but in routine. In showing up when you're exhausted. In pushing through when the weight feels unbearable. In doing it all again tomorrow, without fanfare, without recognition. Just you and the grind. And every drop of sweat you leave on that floor, it writes your name in silence. You don't need a stage. You need a reason. And you've got it. Because this isn't about becoming someone else. This is about becoming who you were born to be. You weren't made to stay soft. You weren't built to break easy. You were made for war. So let it be hard. Let it hurt. Let it challenge you until you shake. Because pain is the toll, and progress is the prize. You will fall. You will doubt. You will break down in the dark and wonder if it's worth it. And it is. Because every scar is a receipt. Every setback is a test. And every single rep, every early morning, every quiet grind is building something no one sees coming. You, the weapon, the storm, the machine, built brick by brick, in sweat, in blood, in silence. So when they finally see you rise, it won't be luck, it won't be a surprise, it won't be a miracle. It'll be the result of 1,000 unseen days, of discipline, of struggle, of relentless pursuit. Because while they slept, you were building. While they complained, you were moving. While they waited for motivation, you were creating momentum. And now, you don't flinch, not at early mornings, not at cold rejection, not at failure. Because you've been there, you've lived there, and you've come out unbreakable. You've mastered the mundane, and that's the difference. Not talent, not timing, not luck, consistency. You became consistent with your war. You learned to love the grind, even when it hated you back. Because the work, the gritty, unrewarded, repetitive work, that's your home now. You don't fear it, you crave it. You're not waiting for the world to notice you. You're too busy becoming undeniable. And every silent rep, every unnoticed sacrifice, every long night is crafting the version of you that will walk through fire without blinking. The version that needs no crown to rule. The one no one believed in. The one they counted out. The one they never saw coming. And that version is almost ready. So rise and get back to work. Because the grind doesn't care how you feel. And neither does greatness. There are battles you fight in silence. Not with fists, not with sweat, not with steel, but with memory. Because the past doesn't stay buried. It lingers, it whispers, it shows up in the quiet moments when the noise fades and you're finally alone. That's when the ghosts arrive. The faces, the flashbacks, the conversations that should have gone differently. The moments you wish you could erase. You've carried them like armor, like chain, like anchors around your ankles as you tried to move forward. And maybe you've told yourself you're over it. Maybe you've said, that's old news. Maybe you've laughed it off, buried it deep, put on a brave face. But you know better, because every time you almost step into greatness, you hesitate. Not because of the present, not because of the future, but because of the weight of what's still holding on. Regret, betrayal, abandonment, guilt, ghosts, not made of sheets and shadows, but made of memories, unfinished, unspoken, unresolved. You think you're building a future,